There's going to have to be a reorientation of our entire human species as to where we fit into the hierarchy of conscious beings in the universe. We are on the brink of discovering that there is a civilization of non-human beings. They may have had as much as 8 billion years longer to reflect upon these theological questions about what happens that gives rise to consciousness in the universe.
My name is Danny Sheehan. I'm a constitutional litigator who's worked some of the most important cases in modern American history. From Pentagon Papers, the Watergate scandal, to Iran-Contra. My legal career has led me now to this pivotal moment. As our human family confronts the implications of the existence here on our planet of extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional non-human species. I will be your guide as we dive into the profound philosophical, theological, and public policy questions pertaining to the UFO phenomenon, alien life, and the citizen movement for disclosure. This is the Full Disclosure Podcast, coming to you from the New Paradigm Institute on SpectraVision Radio.
I want to begin the show today with the kind of announcement of the sad news. Nick Pope, who is one of the most beloved of all of the kind of major UFO activists, has just been diagnosed with stage 4 terminal throat cancer. And he has come to grips with this and acknowledged that he realizes that there doesn't seem to be any reasonable possibility that he's going to survive this for much longer, and has issued a public statement to all of us who've been devoted to this UFO disclosure. And we're all expressing deep sorrow over this passing of him coming up. We had hoped that he would be here to share with us the day of disclosure. But as we know, that if he passes away from this, that he's now going to be shown the answer to a lot of the deep questions that he still has about not only the UFO issue, but all of the other issues that are posed to us when we start to reflect upon profound issues like the passing from this world. The fact that over 82% of Americans believe that there is life after death, and that this begins to abut on a lot of these theological questions that are being raised in the UFO context. Let's turn to both the national and global news that's going on right now between February 5th and the 17th. First, among the non-directly UFO-related news, the repercussions of the expiration of the February 5th longtime U.S.-Russian strategic arms reduction treaty. The expiration of that on the 5th has caused repercussions to be continuing. Russian President Vladimir Putin had agreed that he would continue to abide by the START treaty, hoping that we were going to be able to renew it. And he advocated renewing the START treaty, which limits the total number of warheads that both the United States and Russia can have to 1,550 warheads, and has a number of other restrictions limiting the number of missiles that can be carried on nuclear submarines, the number of independently targetable warheads that can be included on missiles, etc. As I announced last week, President Trump had announced immediately following the expiration of the treaty that he would not agree to either sign and renew the treaty, nor would he accept any kind of amended treaty with Russia unless China was part of this. Immediately after President Trump's announcement, that he was going to refuse to either renew or to join in any newly amended treaty with Russia unless China was part of it. They have explicitly, publicly refused to participate in any such treaty unless either the United States and Russia agree to reduce their presently agreed upon number of 1,550 nuclear warheads down to the 600 nuclear warheads that China acknowledges it possesses. Or both Russia and the United States would allow China to build up its nuclear warheads to the 1,550 warheads that each of them presently have. So this is a potential non-starter here for Trump, who is the fly in the ointment here, that he's the one that's refusing to go forward with continuing this treaty or attempting to engage in any kind of further reduction of the nuclear warheads of our United States nuclear arsenal. While all of this is going on, we are now, today is the convening of the next meeting of the treaty negotiations going on between the Ukraine and Russia to try to bring about a ceasefire in the ongoing military invasion by Russia of the Ukraine. This is starting today in Geneva, but there's no realistic hope that Putin is going to go along with any kind of ceasefire, and the Ukrainian government is refusing to agree to this. All of these issues bear indirectly on the UFO issue because of the literally hundreds of reports that we have from credible witnesses of their having direct face-to-face contact with some of the occupants of these UFO vehicles and being warned by the UFO occupants, these non-human occupants from another star system, to get rid of our nuclear weapons, that they are going to potentially lead to the total self-destruction of our species here on our planet and the total contamination of all of the genetic material that is unique to our planet. And also warning us to stop polluting our planet by pouring chemicals into the rivers and into the atmosphere of our planet, because it's going to destroy your climate system. And this harkens back to the fact that in Russia right now, the bombing of the Ukraine is bombing all of their electrical generating power plants. All of Eastern Europe is experiencing now one of the worst potential winters of their entire history. They're experiencing 35 to 40 degree below zero weather in the Ukraine, centigrade, and they're without light and electric power and any heating. This extraordinary climate event that's taking place in Europe now, with massive storms in low temperatures in all of history, is understood to be a direct product of climate change. And so you see the abutment onto these allegedly indirectly related stories to the UFO issue, with the ever-increasing threat of thermonuclear war, the deploying of more and more powerful nuclear weapons, and the moving into a potential phase of developing even more powerful nuclear weapons. The news stories that are directly related to the UFO phenomenon, first, this week is the first widely reported major news network, ABC television network in Chicago, in which the news network directly confronted the candidates for major national office. This is with the UFO question that we have been advocating, as you know, from the New Paradigm Institute now, that all of the candidates who are running for national office here in the upcoming 2026 November elections be confronted with the question of whether or not, if elected, they will support the full disclosure of all of the UFO information. Now, for the first time on a major national news network, the candidates, all of the Democratic Party candidates that are running for the nomination of the Democratic Party to fill the seat, the U.S. Senate seat of Dick Durbin, who is the Democratic Party whip in the United States Senate. He's retiring now, and the three major candidates that are vying for the seat have been interviewed now by ABC television in Chicago. The host, Paris Schultz, his name is, he, in fact, confronted all three of them sitting together with this question of, if elected, would they support full disclosure on the UFO issue? One of the three candidates, Raja Krishnamurti, fully endorsed the full UFO disclosure, unequivocally. The second of the candidates, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, she completely dodged the question, would ask whether she would commit to supporting full disclosure of the UFO phenomenon, completely refused to answer it. It went on to say that what she's really concentrating on is the price of groceries and how much it costs to pay for gas in your car and what the cost of living was. And that was what she was devoted to concentrating on, basically refusing to make a commitment to support full disclosure. And the third candidate, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, she said that she would support some disclosure of the UFO issue, except for anything that might impinge upon the national security of the United States, which, of course, is the canard that is always used by those who are opposing disclosure, saying the reason that they're not disclosing the information that's known is because it would violate and jeopardize the national security of the United States. The second story is about Congressman Eric Burleson. Congressman Eric Burleson, as you know, is the individual member of Congress that is tasked specifically, officially, with securing full disclosure on the UFO issue. He has announced that he is continuing to be frustrated by the fact that the executive branch is refusing to disclose information that he knows they know, because he has been recently allowed to see a small number of still classified UFO videos, which he has seen and is reported as displaying absolutely extraordinary capacities. They're clear UFOs. These are not, some drones from Russia or China or anywhere else or any of our drones. These are clearly UFOs. They're clearly so in the videos that he can see now, and that they're engaged in all kinds of activities that are completely defying all physics. And he can't understand why it is that these are still being refused to be shown to the public. And he is now demanding that he be given access, he and the other members of the task force on declassification of government secrets, be given access to at least 24 other UFO videos that he knows exist, and he's being refused access to those. He has demanded access to those by the members of the UFO subgroup in the task force on declassification of government secrets, and he has also demanded to be given access to certain restricted facilities, including he's demanded to be given access to a facility where it's been reported credibly to him that there is a UFO of such size that it's hidden completely beneath a major building, and that they're unable to remove the UFO from that building. So he's demanding being given access to that. Okay. Now the third story directly related to the UFO phenomenon, the February 14th interview by former President Barack Obama. He was interviewed on the podcast No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, and he stated that he asked about the aliens. That's what he said. And then the follow-up question by Brian Tyler Cohen was, do you believe that aliens are real? And he said, yes, they are real. But I don't believe that they're being hidden at Area 51, or that would be the biggest conspiracy in all of history. That's what he said. Now, what happened is that, as you might guess, even though that was on not a very widely distributed podcast, it generated a major response of news media, including the Washington Post, reported that he had said that. And so he felt compelled to follow up on it and sort of walk back the answer that he gave to those questions, basically saying that he had come to the conclusion that he asserted because he had seen the recent documentary film of Age of Disclosure, in which some 34 above top secret U.S. government officials that were insiders on the UFO legacy program confirmed that UFOs were real and that we were in possession of one or more of these UFO vehicles, and that we were in possession of actual bodies, biological proof that the occupants of the UFOs were non-human. And so he asserted that it was on the basis of that and his understanding that statistically, in light of all of the exoplanets that are now being discovered, that it would be unreasonable to believe that life didn't exist elsewhere. And so he engaged in an effort to walk back that comment that Obama he wasn't asked the question, first of all, about UFOs at all. He was just asked what was the first thing that he asked to be briefed on once he was inaugurated. And he himself offered the answer that he wanted to know about the aliens, the UFO aliens. Okay. And it was only after that that he was asked the follow-up questions. Do you believe the aliens are real? And he said, yes. Okay. So that's the way the sequence went down. So that I think that's an important thing, and that it would have been inevitable that he would have tried to walk that back later. But it was not immediately after he said it. It was only days later when he saw the kind of press coverage that this was getting. Okay, so I think that that's an important event, important enough to report to you this week. I don't think the big flap that went down about the closing down of the airport down in El Paso is such a big deal, because it's all dealing with that ancillary issue of drones and whether we're going to be shooting down drones or what are these drones all about. And to the extent to which we're not talking about UFOs, I don't think that it's that important a story, but people would want me to say something about it because it was got a lot of publicity this week. Okay. But I don't think it had anything to do with UFOs at all. The passing of Nick Pope, which is now anticipated by himself, and he has publicly announced that he's anticipating this happening in the comparatively near future, calls to mind the event that everybody knows about in their own private life when a loved one passes away, a mother or father, a sibling, a dear friend. That people immediately start asking themselves these profound questions about the nature of death and whether life continues after death. And it turns out that some 82% of Americans believe in life after death. A total of 33% of Americans believe in reincarnation. For example, in the General Apostles' Creed, it says, I believe in the Holy Spirit, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sin, the resurrection of the body, and life everlasting. Amen. And so people go, well, what does that mean? And various church authorities try to explain that in terms of, you're going to go to heaven after you die. You go to heaven and you basically exist in some blissful state, and that's it. Okay, so you get one life, and that's all. And so the people who aren't persuaded that they're just going to go to heaven, and that there's some sort of specific place you go to after death, and you're there forever, ever afterwards, and you only get one life, tend to be much sadder about the fact that the person's one single life that they got is now ending. But those who believe in reincarnation, which in fact was a very, very widely held belief in the early periods of the Christian faith, was condemned at the Council of Nicaea in the Roman Catholic history. And they condemned a belief in reincarnation, primarily because the Catholic Church had insisted upon intervening and interposing itself between access to the infinite knowledge and your life in this regular life. And so that they said that you can't believe in reincarnation because we are in charge of telling you how to act in your one single life that you give so that you get to go to heaven. Okay. And so the reality is now that with the announced anticipated passing of Nick Pope, we in the UFO community are confronted once again with this profound question about the nature of death, the nature of potential life after death. And it starts to give rise to these profound religious and philosophical questions that exist surrounding the UFO issue. Because, as you all know, and that I've quoted in 2 previous episodes, the Catholic Church has issued an official public statement calling upon the laity to engage in a set of discussions about the profound philosophical and theological questions that are posed to our human family by the discovery of life elsewhere in the universe. And so that this is the right opportunity here with the passing of one of our dear friends, and that I know that probably most of you who are listeners to this particular podcast know who Nick Pope is, and you love Nick as we do, all of us that are people who know him as a personal friend and have spent lots of time with Nick at the various expos and conferences that we have pertaining to the UFO issue. And so I want to address frontally these theological questions and the issue of why is it that the discovery of life, intelligent, highly technologically developed life beings, but non-human beings elsewhere in the universe would pose to us theological questions. What is the reason for these theological questions to arise simply by the revelation of the fact that there exist other highly intelligent and highly technologically developed but non-human species in the galaxy and in our universe? This is because the Catholic Church, which is the dominant religious practice in all of Western civilization, has in fact insisted upon telling you that there is no life elsewhere in the universe, historically, that this is the one planet, that it was created by God. It is the place where the conscious life has been created by God, and that therefore, you are blessed and you are the preeminent being in the universe. You have this unique relationship with the infinite and eternal creator of life. And so therefore, the Catholic Church has stepped back from its original position that they adhered to from the 3rd century AD up to the 15th century AD, in which they insisted that the earth was actually so important that it was in the very physical, geographical center of the entire material universe. But when that was disproven by Galileo and Copernicus and others in the 15th century, actually the 16th century is when they ultimately established that. The Catholic Church was forced to have to reconnoiter and readjust its entire theology. Okay, but they replaced the theology by saying that, even though we are not geographically located in the physical center of the entire universe, we are, that is, the human species, are the pinnacle of all sentient life in the entire universe. And now that is on the brink of being shown to be not true. And so therefore, the displacing of our human species from the apex of the pyramid of all sentient life in the universe is confronting the Roman Catholic Church and the Judeo-Christian believers and others, Islamic believers and others, that all share this common belief that they are the preeminent conscious life in the universe, with the fact that it ain't so. And so now what? So there's going to have to be a reorientation of our entire human species as to where we fit into the hierarchy of conscious beings in the universe. We are on the brink of discovering that there is a civilization of non-human beings who are indeed even probably more intelligent than we are, and certainly more highly technologically developed than we are. And therefore, they may have had, I've mentioned before, as much as 8 billion years longer to reflect upon these theological questions about what happens that gives rise to consciousness in the universe, for example, out of a ostensibly non-sentient material world, And the fact of the matter is that what we're discovering now in the probing deeper and deeper into the subatomic structure of matter in our universe, we are starting to realize that these subatomic particles seem to be manifesting certain types of characteristics that may suggest that there is some sort of extraordinarily limited degree of consciousness in atoms and in subparticles of matter, so that the complex life form that we presently occupy in this incarnation may be the consequence of billions of years of evolution, of the joining together of absolutely minimally conscious subatomic particles into more and more conscious particles, so that the inchoate quantum fields, which are the smallest manifestation in our universe that we've discovered so far, come together to form subatomic particles, which then join together consciously to form electrons and protons and neutrons, and that they join together to consciously form atoms of individual elements, and that these individual elements consciously join together to form compounds, which consciously join together to form mixtures, which eventually consciously join together to form planets in star systems. So this is the revelation that our human family is on the brink of starting to discover now, simply through quantum physics. But if in fact we come to realize that these extraterrestrial beings have had as much as 8 billion years longer to probe into the depths of this reality, what is it that is going to be revealed to us about this? And what are going to be the repercussions on the religious institutions? This is the theological question that is posed to us right now. And therefore, the question arises is that when, in fact, this particular vehicle, this material vehicle in which we find our consciousness incarnated, comes to the end of its life cycle, and we lay down this body, that the teachings of religion all support the concept that there is a non-material consciousness that abides, and that it either goes into a place of some kind of interim period between this incarnation and the next incarnation. And I would strongly recommend that you secure a copy of and read a copy of Journey of Souls that is written by Michael Newton, Dr. Michael Newton, and he talks about an interim period in which we go through a process in a non-material conscious form of reviewing our previous incarnation and actually get to participate actively with other conscious entities in determining what our next level of incarnation is going to be. And it may well be here on this planet as a member of the Homo sapiens species, or it may in fact be in some other star system, in a vehicle, a material vehicle of a different species, which is even more intelligent and more technologically developed than present. And these may be these other beings that are coming and going from our planet, that they may be further incarnations of the same spirit, the same soul, if you will, that incarnates our own bodies here. Okay, and so this is the question that gets posed to us with the passing of Nick Pope. I raise these theological questions in honor of Nick, who has devoted his entire adult life to trying to share some of the secrets about the UFO phenomenon that he has come to acquire as an employee of the Defense Department in the United Kingdom. Okay, and so we're calling upon others who are inside the legacy group here in our country to share from a spiritual perspective what their knowledge is about the UFO beings, to find out whether or not they have looked into these deeper questions of theology. And if they have, for these other human beings to start to share this information with us so that we as a species can start to prepare for the encounter that we're going to have with these extraterrestrial beings, so we can begin to amend and complexify our religious institutions, our political institutions, our economic institutions on our planet. Okay, this is the call that we make in the name of Nick Pope, to call upon all the members of the Legacy Group to come forward and to share your knowledge that touch upon these theological questions with our human family. My name is Dan Sheehan. I'm coming to you from the New Paradigm Institute over SpectraVision Radio.
To join the citizen movement for disclosure, visit newparadigminstitute.org/take action.